Hello and welcome to Fergie's Gum. My name's Nathan and I'm joined as always by my good friend Ahmad.
Hi Nathan, how are you?
I've been better. That was dreadful yesterday. We're obviously talking about the Crystal Palace game, but that was absolutely dreadful. Not entirely sure what was going on. We looked flat. We looked inconsistent as usual. We had a terrible injury to Martinez towards the end of the game. Anything that could go wrong just went wrong yesterday. And it was disaster. I'd like to start with a little bit of a statistic though. Since the beginning of last season, I'm reading it off the screen. Since the beginning of last season, only Wolves have lost more games at home than Manchester United.
That's a very bad statistic to start. 7 losses at home, I think, this season. Out of probably 12 games played.
So I think the last time that happened, the last time we lost that many games in a row, at home, was like 1869 or something like that. Something crazy. So we're breaking records, but just not the right ones at the moment.
I think the club was formed in like 1878.
Yeah, but we're going back a little bit further because that's how good these records are. But what did you think of the game yesterday? Because I have some thoughts and feelings about Amorim and the team in general. But what did you think about it yesterday?
I think it's an issue that we've been having not only under Amorim, that we've been having for a while now. For some reason, that we more often than not, when we're on a good run and we go into a game and we start off the game well. We create chances, there's intensity, the crowd gets going as well. But we don't take our chances. Take our chances, and then the nerves start to kick in, and the fans start to get edgy, and the players feel it, the manager feels it, and the opposition feels it, and they start acting on it. And everything seems to go downhill from there. But I thought the first half we were okay, but the second half was a disaster.
I think Amorim, just going back to what I was alluding to before, I think Amorim got it wrong yesterday. I think it's the first time that I can look at the starting lineup and just basically say, I don't think that works. That experiment failed. And it was a little bit worrying because after all this time saying that, he's not going to change and, he's going to play his way, to go into a false nine, which apparently he has done at Sporting before. But when he was playing the false nine, it wasn't a 19-year-old midfielder playing the false nine. It was Gyökeres or Paulino or whoever was the recognised striker at the time. He was just dropping deeper, a little bit like what Harry Kane does. He was just dropping deeper. And I think yesterday, the first 10 minutes looked promising because Palace were like, hang on, what's going on here? Why is Mainu playing in this role? We can't really track him. And the commentators were saying it's great because he's moving around. They don't know who they're supposed to mark. Will Hughes didn't know what to do. Gray didn't know what to do. There was a bit of a mix-up for the first 10 minutes or so. And we should have scored then as well. And then as soon as they worked it out, that was it. It was so easy to deal with him. He's not a physical specimen, that's going to be able to smash any defenders off the ball or stand his own ground against someone like Will Hughes. And he was just getting bossed. And I don't blame him for it. I blame Amorim for setting us up in that formation and tried to go with it. And I know you can point to the fact that Højlund and Xerxes just don't score goals, but without a recognised striker, you're inviting that type of pressure, right?
I'm not sure I agree because even Amorim tried this false nine thing with the United. If you remember, against Everton, Xerxes was playing that role. Basically, he was dropping deep, and we played really well that game. It was one of the better games that we've had.
But he's a striker. He's a forward. He plays as a forward. And I know Mainu has played throughout the systems as like a winger. He's played forward before, but he's not a recognised striker.
I think he was trying to fit in. Like he was trying to fit in Ahmad, Garnacho, Kobe, Bruno. Like he was trying to fit them all in because they've done well midweek against Steaua Bucharest. And yeah, Kobe looked really good when in that game. We haven't done a podcast ever since that game.
Yeah, true.
But we saw Kobe in the number 10 role. He was really good. He scored a goal. He created a goal. He created chances. He should have scored more. And it looked like it suited him more. Like he had more freedom. He had less defensive responsibilities. And he's really good, like in tight spaces, and like creating chances. So like seeing the formation yesterday, like before the game, I think like I told you when you sent me the formation, like it's gonna be Kobe in the false nine, and I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that at all because like I saw how it would work. Because even if you wanted to play Xerxes or Hoyland, he's gonna come up. They're gonna come up against Mark Gay. They're gonna come up against Richards, and they're not gonna be able to deal physically with them because we've seen that like over and over again for some reason. So yeah, it was a risk. It was a risk. If we scored that goal in the first 15 minutes that we should have, could have turned out completely different. But it's just like it's the way things are right now. Like things don't go our way, and we seem to capitulate every single time.
The team looks completely flat. I wasn't surprised when Mainu got brought off, or Mazraoui. Mazraoui had one of the worst games that I've seen him play in the Man United shirt yesterday. He just looks aghast, and it doesn't take long before that the curse of playing for Manchester United takes over you, and suddenly you're playing with shackles on. I mean, I know we'll talk about this later, but Anthony at Betis put in a man of the match performance, and you look at the highlights of it, and he played really well. He was doing all the things that you would expect a winger to do and what we wanted him to do when he was playing for Man United. But for whatever reason it is, they just don't do it at our club. So there's something rotten there completely. But just going back to the Mainu situation and playing the false nine, like as you said, first 10, 15 minutes, there was a puzzle for Crystal Palace to solve. And if we'd have scored before they'd solved it, then it might have been a different story. But the problem was that once they did solve it, you could see that it was easy then. It was totally easy. They doubled up on Ahmad, they doubled up on Garnacho, and they knew that Mainu wasn't posing a major threat through the middle. So it was fairly easy for them to just outmuscle us. And once they'd done that, it's like, right, we need our strikers on. And I think playing Kobe in that false nine role has done more damage to Hoyland and Xerxes' confidence than anything that the fans can possibly say to them. Like that's soul crushing to play him ahead of two recognised strikers. And like, I'm not saying this is a bad thing because when they came on, as you messaged me, trampoline touch from Hoyland. Xerxes gave the ball away like 3 times. In fact, I think the first time he gave the ball away led to the second goal. And it's just we can't continue with that. We've got 4 attacking players to go until the end of the season. We're on the day before. Oh, no, it's not the day before. Transfer deadline is tonight, right?
Yeah.
11 p.m. UK time. We've got 4 players. We've got Ahmad. We've got Garnacho, maybe. We've got Hoyland and we've got Xerxes to take us through the rest of the season. If we don't do something in the transfer window, again, which we'll talk about later. But that's a scary thought, though, surely.
Yeah, I'm not sure, like, the fact that Kobe started the game, like, crushed Xerxes and Hoyland's competence, because they should have seen it coming. Like, they've had way too many chances and opportunities, and every time it feels like they don't take it. They don't show, like, they have to, like, either of them has to start, like, I don't know. Like I don't mind. Like I wouldn't mind it even next game if Kobe started in the plus line again. I'm not gonna just say, oh, it didn't work, so let's go back to Xerxes and Holland, because that wasn't working either. So I mean, it makes more sense to try Kobe there. Maybe he needs a few games to start getting into that role, and yeah, like there's more of a chance of him producing something and getting into form than either of the other two, because yeah, none of
Sorry,
them proved anything.
just to interject there. One of the issues was, and like this is why I think it's a huge deal with Hoyland and Xerxes that they didn't play yesterday. And then when they did come on, they were awful. Because when you look at Ahmad in that second half, when the two of them were on the pitch, he was getting to places on the pitch where he could have drilled the ball across, Hoyland could have tapped it in, Xerxes could have tapped it in. But he was hesitant about doing it. Bruno, again, got to the edge of the box, looked to put the ball in, again, drive across the box, look for some chaos, tap it in. Didn't have confidence in those guys doing it. And they kept playing the ball like chipping it over to them, use their height. But they were using their height against two centre-backs that were like eating it up for dinner. So we keep talking about it every single podcast, every single episode. We talk about Xerxes and Hoyland being a problem. So I'll ask you this then. Do you think Amorim playing Mainoo there was simply a tactical thing, or do you think it was a little cry for help to the board and Ineos to say, guys, we can't do this without a recognised striker, get your hands in your pockets?
It's a bit of both. Because I'm sure, like, when he's planning for the game, his main focus would be just actually winning the game and putting in a good performance. If that meant starting Hoyland or Xerxes, he would have gone for it, because he wouldn't have prioritized like sending a message to the board. He desperately needs a win, especially in the league. So I'm sure like he genuinely believed that was the better option going forward. And I think he's seen enough. Like he's seen enough in the months that he's been here that neither Hoyland nor Xerxes are the players to take us forward, like to depend on. So I don't know, like, and I hope the board was watching that, and yeah, they I'm sure they know, like I'm sure they're trying to find someone to bring in, but even the players that we're being linked in, like we're gonna get to that in the next segment, but none of them are like, I don't feel like that's what we need, you know. So that's why I feel just get through the season, like however we get through it, like just end it, just get to the end of it, and yeah, like and just go into the summer, having seen all that, and not forgetting how bad we are, and like actually doing something in the summer, because we need another rebuild. Like that's obvious. Like we need another rebuild, and yeah, nothing's gonna change. Like no matter what you do, no matter what manager you bring in, no matter who you play, this squad, honestly, this squad is the worst squad that we've had probably ever. Like it's the worst squad that we have.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I was going to say though, you know, get this season over and done with, but we're in relegation form, losing so many games at home. Like we can't even rely on that to pick up points right now. I know I think there's like 14 games left and we need 11 points to secure safety, which seems like a ridiculous thing to even talk about, but that's the truth. And if we're not winning at home, that takes away one of our big advantages, right? Because it always used to be Palace would come there and maybe we would win. We haven't actually beaten them in 2 years at Old Trafford, apparently. Or like a Brighton would come there and we would, you know, maybe we'll get a victory in this game. There's no guarantees for anything at the moment because they're so affected by the crowd, by the atmosphere or the lack of atmosphere at Old Trafford right now. And there's just a general malaise around the club, the fans, Ineos. I don't understand it. And physically, this is going back to the actual game. Physically, we're just nowhere near it. It was men versus boys again.
Honestly, like
Crystal Palace players just walking through our midfield. When Eze came on, it was like they were talking about him as if he'd just come back from the dead. Like, oh, it's a real surprise that he's on the pitch today, because Glazner said before the game there's no chance of him playing, or there's words to that effect, because he's been injured for a long time. When he came on, it was easier than a training game for him. He was just walking through the midfield because he's just a giant man. Like, and Mateta did the same thing. Just ridiculous way of doing things.
One of the issues that we've had yesterday was our midfield. Ugarte and Bruno, I don't think that's the one. Like, because whenever they come up against like a physical opposition, like last night, like against Forest, like against Bournemouth, like against Liverpool, like they're gonna struggle. Especially at home, when they're expected to take the game to the other team and like maintain possession, and they're third. And then if we lose it, they're gonna have to like cover ground and like stop the counter attack. Yeah, that's not it, because we saw last night. Like Hughes, honestly, even though he should have been booked like 10 times, but he dominated. Jefferson Lerma was also like brilliant. I think Kamada was playing most of the game and the like behind the striker role, and he wasn't good. Yeah. Like he was very poor, to be honest. If Eze was playing that whole game, it could have been way worse, because when he came on, like you said, honestly, he just ran through the team like so easily. It was so simple to like. There were so many gaps. No one was being able to track back. Ugarte, he was on a yellow. It seems like he's on a yellow every single game, and if he wants to stop that run, he's gonna take another yellow. I don't know. Like it's just there's, like you said, the physicality in this team. It's a huge issue.
But you mentioned before about that we need a rebuild, like, and it feels like we're doing this every other season with a new manager. But if we do get relegated, and I'm just going to talk about it right now, if we do get relegated, that's just going to make things much worse. So right now we've got, what time is it now? It's about 8 o'clock in the UK, 10 to 9 in the UK right now. The window closes in 12 hours, I think it is. No, 14 hours. What do we do in that time? So the transfer roundup then, we have, as discussed previously, around about 14 hours as we record this podcast to sign some reinforcements. We've already signed Aidan Heaven and Patrick Dorgu, who were announced on the pitch yesterday before the game, and they must have been like, oof, what have we got ourselves in for here? But it's a weird one, because Heaven was always supposed to be back up to Lisandro Martinez, and that might seem like he's going to be in the first team almost immediately, because that did not look good yesterday. I don't know if there's been any update about Martinez's injury, but it looks like Aidan Heaven might be starting sooner than he thinks, right?
Yeah, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, like everything that could have gone wrong yesterday, it went wrong. The last thing that we needed was an injury to Lisandro, to be honest. He's been doing really well recently.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we do not have cover for him. Especially in the system that we're playing, it's one of the most important pieces is the left-footed centre back. So maybe having a good start, like being integrated into the team like quicker than we thought. He is coming. He was coming either way as a first team player. He wasn't coming as an under 18 or 23. But I think it's too soon to just throw him in there. He looks good. Like, honestly, I don't think he would do worse than what we have. So
that's the bar. That's the bar for it. That's where we're going.
Exactly.
That's how low it is.
But maybe we can dip into the market. Maybe like find someone. I think Luke Shaw is back in training. Maybe he's another option. I don't know.
You can't rely on him, though. You cannot rely on Luke Shaw. It's embarrassing. But at least we've got left-sided defenders into the club with Dorgu and Heaven. Because God knows I've had enough of watching Davos take that position out.
I know.
He's literally Maybe he'll come good when he's playing on the right and
he's
they're
not gonna come
rotating
good.
between him and Masraoui. I know you're furious with
He's
it.
not
You're not
gonna
having
come
it. You're
good.
not
He's
having
never
that.
gonna come good. He's never gonna come good. The sooner everyone accepts that and moves him on and just like he's just a bit part player who's gonna come in like for 10 minutes or play the League Cup games or something. Honestly, this guy, like I keep on saying it. I've been saying it for so long. Even last season when he was having his best season, this guy is part. He's a major part of the issue that we have. He's like that's all I'm gonna say. Like he's been there every time we've had issues. It's not a coincidence. So yeah, I mean, like you just move him on. Like just I don't know. It's crazy. Like zero footballing.
I can't personally move him on, but I can definitely move the conversation on to talk about who the transfers are that are coming in. But the only people that we've been linked with like recently was Leon Bailey, which was dismissed within minutes. So I imagine his name came up during conversations with Rashford, or between Manchester United and Aston Villa when Rashford was talked about. There was a little sniff of, oh, maybe we'll go for Bailey because he hasn't really played that much this season. And then that was dismissed out of hand. Then we've got Quenda from Sporting, who cannot join Manchester United until the summer at the earliest because he's only 17. Brexit rules or European rules now dictate that you can't sign players to the Premier League from foreign clubs until they're 18. So Quenda's not going to join until like the next season at the earliest. And then I think that was basically it. That was it. That was the Mateus Tel.
Yeah.
And that's it. And Tel, I just don't. I see that as another high risk. Hoyland, Xerxes, can this guy hit a barn door? And the statistics suggest that he can't because he maybe sat there. I saw Fabrizio Romano saying he's waiting by the phone. He really wants his move. He wants to move on. He hasn't scored since May. He hasn't scored a league goal since May.
Since May.
Yeah.
So basically nothing this season.
Yeah, exactly. So nothing at all. That's not what you want.
That's the last thing you need. Maybe like I always thought he is a striker and he would come in as a striker, but like after seeing more of him and like doing my research more, it seems like he's a left-sided forward, like more in a Garnacho role thing. But like that's not what we need, to be honest. Even though Garnacho yesterday felt like he couldn't take on his man at all. That's another issue.
Yeah,
like that's another issue that we can talk about later. But we need someone who's a focal point who can actually score goals, who knows how to score goals. Because the only time that Garnacho like actually did something and like he put the ball across with his left foot in a very dangerous area. If you have a proper striker there, he's gonna predict that and he's gonna score. That's an easy goal, but we don't. Like even if Hoyland or Xerxes were on the pitch, they wouldn't have gotten to that. So we need someone. We need like a proper striker, but it doesn't seem like there's anything happening.
I think obviously Gyökeres would have been the perfect foil for this team, and you know it's hard to know whether or not he would have been a 20-goal a season striker this season playing with that squad. But we do need someone that is actually proving that they're able to do it. And one of the players that I'd have taken a risk on this player rather than taking a risk on Tel, but West Ham loaning Evan Ferguson from Brighton. Like that could have been us. If you want to take a risk, I'm not saying he's a proven goal scorer, but he's got Premier League experience. He has scored goals for Brighton. He's got a problem with his fitness, and he gets injured quite often. But if you're going to take a risk on a player, why not someone that's already been doing it in the Premier League that isn't going to cost you a ton of cash? I'd have snapped Evan Ferguson up.
Yeah, me too. I agree. Like you said, okay, it's not ideal. Like it's not the most perfect scenario. Getting someone who's been struggling with fitness, who I think last season he was injured most of it, and who hasn't gotten into the rhythm. But he's still young, and he's shown that he can be like a good option to have. And yeah, like he scores goals. Like he scores goals. I think he's gonna do well at West Ham. But I mean, like the only thing I'd say, if if you're going for Tell, you might as well go for Ferguson, because it's obvious you're not going for that proven goal scorer that's gonna guarantee you goals. So like it's not gonna make a difference if you go for Tell or Ferguson. Ferguson, like you said, is a safer bet. So I don't know how the thought process is for them, but I don't know.
But I was thinking about this morning, and like the previous regimes that we've had, like with Ed Woodward, notably, we would get to the end of the January transfer window or the summer window, and we would end up with whatever they could grab. It was essentially what we would call like a supermarket sweep, which was a TV show from the early 90s in the UK, mate. But they used to run around and try and throw as much stuff in their trolley as quick as possible. And that feels exactly like what we do at the end of every single transfer window. And on that show, it used to be an inflatable banana, and on this one, it's going to be Mateus Tell. So it's, which one's going to be the most useful in this situation? Isn't this what Ashworth was brought in to do in the first place, to kind of organise these things, to have a plan B, to have a plan A, B, C, D, whatever it is, and work out exactly what we need in each position, so that it didn't come down to last day of the season, last day of the transfer window, who we're going to sign. Surely that was the whole point, or the whole remit of having him in that position. And now, apart from Tell, we may end up with someone else, but apart from Tell, there are no other players that are linked to us. No one.
Yeah.
No main strikers, no nothing.
Honestly, the thing with the January transfer window, especially because it's such a short period, it's almost like a domino effect. Because like one transfer goes through for a club, another transfer goes through for another club, and like it's a domino effect. So you can't really know what opportunities you're gonna get, maybe until like the last few days. So I'm sure like they had targets. I'm sure like Mateus Tell was a target for a long time. But we've been trying to make sure that we moved on like Anthony and Rashford, so that we don't get ourselves into like a mess before like actually going for someone. But yeah, like other than Tell, we've also been linked with Nkunku, who also I'm not sure about. I'm not sure about. Like he scores goals. To be honest, like he's good. I'm not gonna say he's bad. Like he's 100% is gonna be better than what we have. Like that's 100% for sure.
But whenever I hear stuff like this, I always think, and this has happened from many seasons back since Ferguson was in charge, or when he left soon after that. Why would Chelsea want to get rid of Nkunku to Manchester United, a rival? Surely, if they don't fancy him, then there's a reason why. Same with Mount. If they didn't fancy him, why did they get rid of him? Yes, there's the money aspect of it, but then with Nkunku, you do not get that. They want to get rid of him after a season or so because something is fundamentally wrong there. He doesn't fit their system. Okay, cool. But what are the other things? He's injured a lot. He doesn't score that often. He's not as consistent as he needs. If you want that, we've got it. We've got these lads here. They can be inconsistent. They can be injured. They can do all those things that lad's doing. So it doesn't make sense to me. And every single transfer window, even with these guys, and I know it's their first time, you've got to give them a bit of leeway with it. But even with people in place that are supposed to be professionals at doing this, fixing this problem, I don't get the sense that we're in a safe position where there are backup plans to the backup plans.
I mean, I'm sure, like, in my head, trying to be a bit optimistic, which is unusual. It's like, I'm sure like they have plans for the summer, and I'm sure like they have like targets for the summer, like that.
Sure, I believe that as well.
So, seeing how the season has been panning out, and like the situation with Rashford, the situation with Anthony, and like seeing how Boyd and Xerxes are like misfiring. So yeah, like a loan deal with no obligation to buy, whoever it is, I'm gonna take it. Honestly, like it's not gonna affect us. Like it wouldn't do us any harm. So if Nkunku comes in, I think this season, fitness-wise, he's been better, but he's not been playing because Like you said, he doesn't fit the system. That's all. He's been playing the Conference League and he's been scoring, which is not something very impressive to be honest. But like at least he's scoring, you know. And he might do well. Like sometimes you get these deals, these players that everyone seems to forget about. Like they're forgotten. They go to another team and suddenly they're back into form for some reason or not. So and yeah, you can never predict these things. It's a chance worth taking. That's all I'm gonna say. Up like for the next 6 months. Yeah, and then like if it works out and he was like really good and you want to make him permanent, you can do that. If not, yeah, just move him on and just continue with your summer plans. So we need something. That's
I just say you're right. We definitely do need something, but I just don't think. I think that approach is fundamentally flawed because we're in relegation form. We need something. We need a proven goal scorer now. And I don't think Nkunku is that player. I don't think Matthias Tell is that player. I don't know who that player is.
It's awesome.
I mean,
honestly,
of course, but he's going nowhere. The links with him have died off. They've completely died.
Galatasaray have signed anyway, so I don't know.
Who? Morata.
Yeah. So like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But they'll probably play two. The other slightly concerning thing is that there aren't any more announcements of players going out. There was a big furore around Casemiro leaving and going to Roma last week, I think it was, or the week before. And there's been nothing since. But he's the only one that they've been touting as leaving recently. Obviously, we've had Anthony. The Rashford saga is now finally over, which... I mean, I feel sad about it. I feel like we've talked about this quite a lot. I do feel sad about it, genuinely, because of, Manchester lad made it good, scored on his debut in pretty much every competition. Yeah. I'm just glad he's gone because it's over and done with now. Amorim can just get on with managing the players that he has. But then when you look at the likes of Casemiro, he's not going anywhere, is he? He's just sitting there. No one's come in for him. There's been no mention from anyone else apart from Roma, and that's it.
Yeah, like you said, all the noise around that has died out for some reason. Like it's the issue that we've been having because like it's so tough moving players on when they're on the wages that they're on. Like it's just no one's gonna come in for them. And yeah, Casemiro, I think like. He came on against Steaua Bucharest. That was the first time we've seen him in I don't know how long. And yeah, like that's why we need a rebuild. That's exactly why we need a rebuild. So these things are tough to do in the January transfer window. Even Malacia, I don't know why. Like the move broke down. He was going to Benfica. So
yeah, it broke down. I think it was over salary. I think that's what they said. It came down to finances. So, I mean, I completely forgot about that. But again, there's another forgotten man there hasn't been any mention about him going anywhere. Okay, so let's do this. What's your prediction for tomorrow morning? We wake up with what? Manchester United wake up with what players?
Yeah, I still think we're gonna sign Matthias Tel. Even though last night, the reports came out that the move is completely off because Bayern's demands weren't realistic. But yeah, I still think we're gonna find a way to bring him in. What about you?
There's no specific player. I reckon Tell's probably the most likeliest one to come in. But I think Manchester United will surprise us. And I think there'll be more than one player that will come in by the end of the window.
Yeah.
I think there will be possibly 2 loan signings that come in, or 3, because that squad is wafer thin. It was 2 goalkeepers on the bench yesterday. Rashford's gone, Anthony's gone, Casemiro's legs have gone. It's difficult to replace those people. But I've got a feeling that there's going to be a couple, two or three
Like any specific positions in mind?
I think they'll look for a midfielder. I think they'll look for a midfielder, and I think they'll definitely look for a striker. But the attacking players, I think, will be. I think there might be two of them. I think there'll be one in midfield that is physically strong, and then there'll be two possibly for the attacking positions, Tell and one other, because we haven't got enough. We haven't got enough. If it's just Matthias Tell, forget it. We could be looking at relegation this season. Easy. It's time for another episode of Overrated, Underrated. And this week I'm going to go first. Who did we have last week? Beckham and who was the other player?
Martial.
Who did I choose last week? Martial. Right, well, let's see if you can guess. I'll go first this week. Let's see if you can guess who it is based on these little clues, all right? You ready? I bet you get it in one.
What?
He's played 157 games and scored 6 goals for Manchester United.
When the 7 scored 6 goals? Okay, I know I'm not going to get it in one.
No?
No.
He's captained club and country.
Like I
To
have
be fair,
one.
these are pretty vague. These clues are pretty vague.
I have one in my head, but like it's just the appearances. I'm pretty sure like he had more appearances.
Just let it out then.
Is it Evra?
No.
Okay.
26 goals.
26.
Did
I
he
heard
score that?
6.
Oh,
20.
six. Sorry, 6.
6 goals.
Yeah. Well, Ibra scored
No,
around.
Evra.
Oh, Evra. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's not Pat. It's not Uncle Pat.
All right,
no.
Another one.
One last clue.
Yeah.
He was once a world record transfer.
It was once a world record transfer. Okay, so no. World record transfer. I think that no. Is it Rio?
Pardon?
Rio?
No, it wasn't. It was. Shall I put you out of your misery, or do you want another guess?
No. Yeah, whatever. I'm not gonna get it right every time.
It was Jacob Harry Maguire.
Oof. Yeah,
which I found out today. Jacob is his first name and Harry is his middle name.
Well, he wasn't like a world record transfer. He was like transfer for a defender, you mean?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
That's why like I started thinking like a Frio, Andy Cole. Wow, like
yeah. I had to stifle you because you're too good at these. So you know, technically he was a world record transfer at one point for a defender. That's a small problem, mate.
That's a very good one.
Yeah. So I thought it was a good one because he's still currently playing, and I think he splits fan opinion quite a matter of factly down the middle. I think we saw the best and the worst of him yesterday. He had like a decent first half, commanding headers, won his duels well, and then the second half he just fell to bits. So where do you rate him? Is he overrated or underrated for you?
Underrated. That's easy for me, honestly. Like I have a lot of opinions about Maguire and how he's been treated. So yeah, no, to me he's been underrated.
Okay, I think I inclined to agree with you. I think he has been underrated, and I think if he'd have come in for 20 million as a centre back from Leicester City, there wouldn't be these enormous conversations about whether or not he was a flop for Manchester United or not, because he's been a great servant. And to come back from being stripped of the captaincy and then dropped to the bench, and he's somehow found his way back into the first team. I know through injuries, but he's stayed and he's been there and he's tried his hardest. And when we've called upon him, he's actually done the business. Sometimes bad business, but business all the same.
Yeah, no, I agree. Honestly, like Maguire proved not just this season, even last season, he proved how a professional should act in any field of work, not just football. Honestly, he's amazing from that aspect. He dug his heels in, even when everyone wanted him out. The fans, even the club, were trying to sell him to West Ham the summer before. But yeah, like you said, he was persistent. He stayed, and like the things he had to deal with, honestly, it's just ridiculous. For some reason, it's 90%. It's because of the price tag that he had, but he had a dip of form, which is normal. But he had that dip of form when I want to say, like, when Cristiano came in for some reason. Like, maybe it's not associated, but in my head it is like a bit, because he was the captain for like ever since he came in, and then when Cristiano came in, everyone was like, how is Maguire going to captain Cristiano Ronaldo? Like, how is Maguire going to be the captain? And I think that like knocked his self-belief, his confidence. He started making mistakes, and everyone just piled on him. And that was his worst season. But yeah, ever since, like, he built himself up again. He's been getting injured a bit for the past 2 seasons, but ever since Amorim came in, everyone agrees, like, he's improved so much, and he's a vital player in the system now. And even everyone forgets the first season he came in, and the second season, he was unbelievable. Honestly, he was unbelievable. That first season, when we ended up third, I think, at the league. He was very, very important. He was scoring important goals as well. People seem to forget. Like, when we needed, especially we needed the win against Chelsea away in that season. I think it was 2019, 2020. So that we can start pushing for top 4. And he scored in the away to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. This following season, when we went on that run, when we kept on having comebacks, going on that unbeaten run away from home, he was unbelievable. So yeah, people seem to forget that, but I feel bad for him. But he proved honestly, his story is, I think it can be an example for so many players. Like, no matter how bad it gets, you can always, like, come back.
And I think there's a fair few players in this current Manchester United squad that could learn a thing or two from him in terms of having a backbone, knuckling down and trying to get the work done. Links very closely to Marcus Rashford, who decided that he wasn't going to do that anymore. But that's the end of that tale. But I think Maguire, he's been, as I said before, a loyal servant to Manchester United, and he's done things that he's needed to do. When he was chipping in with those goals, as you say, it really felt like we had an aerial threat and a great way of trying to create goals from set pieces. That's died off a lot recently, which, again, is just, our set pieces are dreadful. I can't remember the last time we scored from one, but you'll probably tell me that it was last week. But I just can't. It just never seems to have that aerial threat anymore. But in terms of his overall game, he's there every week. He's there, like, he's marshalling the defence. He's trying to do his best. He's training hard, and managers see something in him. I mean, even Ten Hag reinstated him towards the end. Amorim likes the cut of his jib as well. So, I think fans do tend to forget that centre-back is a really difficult position to play, and not everyone makes it in the Premier League, but at least he's got the pedigree to carry on, especially as England captain and Manchester United captain before. Well, one last thing on Maguire before we go onto yours. He's the subject of one of my Mandela effects. Do you know what Mandela effect is?
I think you explained it to me once, but I seem to forget.
It's when you think that something happened when in actual reality it never did. So there's various examples of this, but the one that I'm going to give you is relevant to this right now. Is I always thought that Maguire in my head was part of the Leicester City Premier League winning squad, and he never was. And every time, it's one of those things that just sticks in my head. Even though I've researched this years ago, and I know that he never won the Premier League title with Leicester City, it's one of those things that in my head every now and again goes, yeah, he's a Premier League winner. He won the Premier League, right? No, he did not. And it's unlikely that he will do with Manchester United anytime soon. Anyway, who have you got then? Let's do the clues for yours, overrated, underrated.
All right, so he played.
That you researched for hours and hours before this podcast, right?
Yeah,
definitely didn't do it just 2 minutes ago.
No, I actually I changed the player like while we were talking now.
Okay,
so he played 119 times for Manchester United, and he scored 12 goals.
19 games, 12 goals.
119, 12 goals.
And 12 goals. Is it Daily Blind?
No, that's a good one though.
Okay, I'll do that one next week.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, one more clue. Or another clue, please.
Okay, he was a deadline day signing.
Deadline day signing. 12 goals, you say?
12 games.
1,200 games. Deadline day signing.
Some important goals in there as well.
Oh. No. Drawing a blank. Go on. Last one.
Okay. I think this clue is going to give it away. He was famous for his hair.
Famous for his hair? Marouane Fellaini?
Yeah.
Could have said anyone. Well, Fellaini's a good one. We had this conversation. Did we have this conversation a couple of weeks ago?
I think I was about to go off, and then you were like, okay, no, I'm gonna have to hear it like properly next time. So.
Yeah, because I think we talked about Moyes' summer of madness when all the players that he'd signed and we was rating them whether they were good or bad. I can't remember what I said at the time. I think
I forgot about that.
I think we talked about who was it was each manager's best signing, and it was between him and Fellaini. Yeah, and I said it was between Mata and Fellaini. Sorry, and I picked Mata, but only because it was 1 out of 2, and you said Fellaini. But I'd say he was underrated. Hindsight's a beautiful thing with any of these things. Whenever we're talking about players of the past, I think his signing was kind of that his career was typified by the fact that Moyes signed him. Moyes was a failure, and we only signed 2 players, and this was, Fellaini was one of them, like a battering ram, essentially, when we needed more elegant players like a Fabregas, for example. But I think in the right system, I think even in this team now, he'd do a job, because he's a physical presence that would just be, up there. You can imagine him chesting it down to Bruno, and Bruno just lashing in goal after goal after goal. Because that's what he did well. He wasn't a terribly skillful player. He wasn't like he wasn't going to score you 20 goals a season, but he was always a threat in and around the box. And even in midfield, when he had to do the dirty work, he was there. He was there to do that as well. So, yeah, I don't mind saying that he was underrated. I think back then I probably would have said that he was overrated when he was at Everton. I think it's fair to say that. I think a lot of Manchester United fans would have said he was overrated, and why the hell are we signing him? But I think when he came in and we saw what he could do, and he, as you say, he did score important goals for Manchester United. I think, I think it's fair to just go back and say, yeah, he was underrated for us, and he did a good job in a bad team.
Yeah, I agree. I think like if the listeners go back to the episode, like you were saying, yeah, they're gonna get my thoughts. But yeah, just to recap what I was saying, not repeat. Yeah, I think he was very underrated. I think his story, or like Maguire's story, reminds me a bit of his, because like it's about them getting unnecessary slack from the fans just because of things that are out of their control, like out of the players' control, where for no reason at all they just get some unnecessary slack, and that affects them and their families, and like it's not easy. So yeah, like I think, like you said,
I don't think that affected him though. I don't think he was ever affected by stuff like that. I never really saw him with his head down. Like he was always one of those like that would just get angry by it. So I think he handled. I thought he handled that pressure kind of
yeah,
all right compared to Maguire, where you could kind of see him folding. Like he just didn't seem to be the same person anymore. Once he was undermined by Ronaldo and then Ten Hag taking the captaincy off him,
yeah.
you could see that he lost a lot of it. But Fellaini, I don't remember ever watching him play and thinking like, oh, he's affected by
Yeah,
this.
I honestly I remember him like when he scores a goal, he celebrates in a way that he's trying to prove something to the fans. Like, okay, you keep on
Okay.
giving me this slack, but look, I'm scoring, I'm doing well, and no one gives me credit for it. So yeah, I thought, I don't know, like personally, I thought it affected him because it could have turned out way differently for him at United. But he was really good. He was really good. Honestly, like he's one of those, I want to say, like unicorns. Like players with honestly attributes that you don't find. Like it's not so easy to find these attributes in players. He's tall. He's strong. He actually had quite a good touch on the ball, which is not like if you look at
A
him,
good touch for a big man. No.
exactly, like a very good touch for a big man. Like, and he also like had that feel for scoring. So he knew where to be. He scored like some tap ins. The headers he used to score, honestly, like one of the like most bona fide, like guaranteed patterns of play to score a goal was Young crossing it to the back post and Fellaini being there with a header. Honestly, like under Van Gaal, under Mourinho. And he was a very, very good plan B to have. Like when you're trying to just play it on the ground, but it's not working. When you're trying to like just be so technical with the creating chances and it's not working, honestly, just put him on. He's always gonna win the header. He's always gonna control it on his chest. He's always gonna bypass. Yeah, I mean, you have like a way to bypass the whole midfield by playing that ball. And like I said, he used to score important goals. Like even when I was end of his, like closer to the end of his career at United, when it was with Mourinho. If you remember, like in the Champions League group stage, and we needed the win. And I think it was against Young Boys, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, like last minute header, Fellaini wins it, and we're through to the next round, to the knockout stage. That's when, if you remember, like when Mourinho grabbed that like water bottle thing and like he threw it to the ground. I don't know if you remember.
I do remember.
Yeah, so and then like when Ole came in, he just phased him out because like he wanted to play a different style. But yeah, honestly, he was very underrated, and it's sad like to see like he went to China afterwards, and yeah, he retired I think about 2 years ago. He was always brilliant. Like I really loved Fellaini. I also like the first time I ordered a shirt from the official Manchester United store was when he first came in. Was the home kit with his name on the back. So yeah, like I was very excited when he came.
Now I'm Fellaini super fan. I never had you down as that, mate, but that's fine. That's good. If he isn't doing anything right now, Jason Wilcox should do us all a favour, get him on the phone and see if he can do a job for us for the rest of the season, because God knows we need someone up front that can actually pose a physical threat.
Maybe it's one of those signings you're talking about.
Up next at Old Trafford, we have Leicester City returning with our hero, Ruud van Nistelrooy, in charge for the FA Cup fixture. After our surprising victory against Arsenal, we now have home tie, which in the past might have been like a banker to get us through to the next round against the Leicester City that aren't doing very particularly well at the moment. But we're awful at home, and this could be a potential banana skin for Ruben Amorim. How do you see this one going, mate?
Yeah, like you said, it could very well be a possible banana skin because we seem to struggle at home for some reason. Even the easier games, even like against Rangers and the Europa League, we almost like slipped up there as well. And we've seen Leicester. They can come up with a surprise. We've seen them against Spurs last week. They won away to Spurs. Like it wouldn't be outside the realms of what is it called? Outside the realms of possibilities. For them to get a win at United.
Well, there's so much importance now that rests on these cup games, because obviously we're not going to make top four unless there's some sort of miracle. But our best way into Europe, and not just that Manchester United should be playing in Europe, but in terms of keeping the coffers full of money, we need those European spots. So these games in the cup, we're just going to have to transition and try to be a cup winning team. And I think it kind of works in Amorim's favour, because it does feel like we can get those one-off results. It does feel like if we can get the squad ticking just for 90 minutes or 120, whatever it was against Arsenal. 100, is it 120? How many minutes is it?
Yeah, it was
100. Like getting those types of results out of this squad in a cup game situation seems to be okay. It seems to be our thing he can do. So we do need to go into all of these games now, all of these cup games, as if our life depends on it, because there is a very strong possibility that we do get relegated, but we're still in Europe, which would be a disaster. Yeah, a disaster, I think you call it. But I think Bayern Deer, I mean, he's going to start in this game. I think he offers us far more security than Onana, who, again, yesterday, distribution, awful, really, really poor distribution. We keep hearing this, he's so accurate. Absolutely not. Passing it at the back, yes, okay. Passing it forward, no. Just might as well kick the ball out of play every single time, which he does sometimes. But I think there will be changes to that team. I think Højlund or Xerxes will be brought back in as a focal point, because Amorim admitted slightly after the game in his post-match press conference that it was a bit of an experimentation. I'm not sure he'll want to try it again. But what other changes do you see, or what other changes would you like to see from this game against Leicester?
I think Dorgo comes in. Honestly, Patrick Dorgo. I think it's a perfect time.
I guess so. Yeah, he's been playing football. He's match fit.
Yeah, perfect time to start him. To be honest, at home against Leicester, not the strongest of oppositions, and we desperately need someone to start like making that left wing back role their own. So yeah, you could play him. I think Collier comes in. Probably maybe like give Ugarte a rest. I would like to see Bruno getting a rest because he's been playing every single minute. But maybe bring in Eriksson. And Ahmad should get a rest as well. But like it's very, very difficult to give rests up front because we literally have no one else. So
exactly,
I don't know. Like it's going to be interesting.
I guess the only way that Ahmad gets a rest is if Garnacho's moved over to that right-hand side and someone like Matheus Tel, a player that we haven't even signed yet, comes in and plays on that left side, because we haven't got anyone else. For all the talk of these young players that we have in the youth team, there hasn't been that much of that many of them making the first team squad. I know we had, obviously Collier has made it. Who was the other kid that plays centre back? That
Go
you
country.
know, you always mention him, and I'm always like, who's that lad?
Go
Yes,
country.
that's
Yeah.
it. Yes. Like Chido Obi Martin, before we signed him, was one of those players that I think Fabrizio Romano actually mentioned that he'd been promised first team appearances as part of the signing up for Manchester United this season. Would it be out of the realms of possibility again, for want of a better phrase, to bring him into this squad, to have him on the bench, to give us a bit of a different thing? Like, I think this is the time you kind of experiment with the youth players. If you're not going to move forward with an Eriksen, if you're not going to move forward with a Casemiro, even if you're not going to move forward with Xerxes and Hoyland, you have to look at the youth team, surely.
Honestly, why not? Like we've mentioned this before, like a few times. Like, why not? Like, what harm is it gonna do you? The only thing I'd say is it could harm the player. Like, because when you throw a youth player who's never played first team, who's never had a first team appearance before, and you throw him into this, I don't know, like into this environment, it could like hurt them more than do them good. But I don't know. I don't think it would be the worst idea for Chido Obi to start being integrated into the team, because, like, even I think last week the youth played a game against Oldham, and like not the youth of Oldham, like the actual squad, like and they're big guys, like like the lower
They're
leagues.
not great though. They're not great though. Oldham. I used to go and watch them when I was a young boy, and I mean that was back when they were in the Premier League and troubling Manchester United with a bald-headed fella called Andy Ritchie. But those days are long gone. I think they've actually been relegated out to the conference, right? I think they're.
I think it was.
Yeah.
It's called the National League Cup or something like that. So
yeah,
that's why he got to experience like playing against like those big defenders, and he held his own really, really well. He scored, I think, he scored a goal. I think he created one. He hit the bar. So technically, he's very good on the ball, and he's huge. Like I don't know. And we've seen like it doesn't matter how big you are, you can still be knocked over easily, like Hoyland. So maybe it shouldn't be the worst idea to just start trying him in that role.
Okay, I'm gonna fast forward to Saturday morning, and the game was finished, and Leicester and Rude have managed to sneak away with a win. What does that do to Amorim?
Nothing. Honestly, nothing. It's not. Nothing's gonna change. Like nothing. No amount of losses can make this any worse, because like it's already so bad. So it doesn't matter. Like, okay, if you lost another game, who cares? But yeah, just I mean, it's on the players. I'm not gonna blame him.
I think it adds more pressure to him, because after it's not his fault, or well, maybe it is his fault. He wanted to take charge when he did, because United kind of said this job won't be around forever, which I don't technically believe. But with Van Nistelrooy, kind of got us back on track, playing a system that the players understood, and they were ticking again. It wasn't great, but they were getting wins. And then Amorim came in, Rude left, went to Leicester. If Leicester sneak out of Old Trafford with a win, there'll be fans that will be split on this. There will be fans. The football fans are so binary. It is literally yes or no, black or white. There's no grey areas with this. They will see it as this is we should have just kept Ruud van Nistelrooy. And to be honest, I'm not saying that I want Amorim out, but looking back, it might have been the right time to just wait until the end of the season. Just wait until the summer to bring Amorim in. But I think if he loses this game, there's going to be far more pressure on him. Far more pressure.
Yeah, but why? Like that's what I think. Like, okay, it's not ideal now, but the only advantage or the only positive we're getting out of this period is Amorim is getting to know more about the squad, about the players, about the league, about everything. So if you waited until the summer to get him in, you would have probably went through that as well again, like for a few months. So now you cut to the chase, and when you start the league next season, it's going to be different because he's going to have so much experience, so much more experience, so much more knowledge. The players that he would bring in the summer, he'd know like who he's bringing in. So I know it's not ideal, like the period we're going through. And if you kept through it, it would have it would have put us in the same situation we had with Oli. Because if he did well, everyone was gonna, it's gonna be very difficult not to keep him on, especially with the fans, how much they love him. So yeah, and I don't know, like seeing what Druid is doing at Leicester, he's not doing really well. So, and it would have sucked as well if like he stayed and he started like getting bad results and we would have had to sack. So yeah,
I know we'll never know. But I do feel like the more games that Amorim loses, the more pressure that it mounts on him, which is obvious. It's an obvious thing, He's the manager of Manchester United. That we're in the results business. It doesn't matter whether we win 1-0 or 6-0. We have to win those games, and that's what I mean about it in terms of the pressure. He is looking at that squad. He does understand them now. He does know what they do and can't do, their limitations, their positives. But you can't keep using that as an excuse as you go along if you're not getting the results. So it will only last for as long as long as the fans allow it to, as long as the management allow it to. So yeah, like if we do keep losing, if we go out of the FA Cup, if we lose next weekend, the weekend after, if we keep losing these games, suddenly Amorim and his management style go under the microscope. And I don't want that to happen, but we need to start turning this around and be more consistent with getting results. And that's on him with a terrible squad, unfortunately.
I agree.
Okay, what score do you think it'll be then?
I think it's going to be one of those. Like I think 3-0 United.
3-0, big.
Yeah,
it's a big one. I still think we'll win. I still think we've got more than enough to beat them, but I think it'll be close. I think it'll be like a 2-1 victory. I think it'll be a nervy end. We'll score 2. It'll look like cruising. They'll pull one back, and it'll be a nervy finish to the end. There we go then, the end of another podcast episode, should I say. Slightly negative, was it? Was there any positives in there? Transfer stuff?
No,
I don't know. I'm searching. Really. You was positive for about 30, 40 seconds. I did count that. And that's what I needed, a bit of optimism about stuff. But as long as we can get that up to 60 seconds of optimism every podcast, then we'll be doing okay. But we will talk to you again after the Leicester City game, and hopefully we'll have signed some reinforcements by then. Thanks for listening, and check us out on YouTube.